Hello world, I am Ocean and this is the Freethinkers Report for the 28th of August 2020. Thank you to all those that have subscribed to this channel. It really means a lot to me, so thank you. So let's start. Item 1. Big picture news. So last time I mentioned the financial reset as a possible future major event. Well, it could take a variety of forms. The best would be, of course, NESARA. And I thought I might spend a little bit of time trying to explain my understanding of NESARA. It's quite a complicated subject, not least because NESARA is actually part of NESARA. NESARA is the global agreement for the financial reset. NESARA would be implemented for each nation. And the one that we look to, of course, is America. And there, apparently, the National Economic Security and Reformation Act was actually passed by Bill Clinton under gunpoint, but has yet to be implemented. But there is another one called, this is where it gets confusing, that Wikipedia refers to, which is the National Economic Security and Recovery Act. It's the same initials, but different meaning. Now then, what is it? Well, it's a plan for a complete change the way the financial systems operate. It's got at least 19 components, and I thought when I first came across it that it would be all implemented at once. But what may be happening is that it gets implemented in stages. So one of the main items in it is debt forgiveness, or the Jubilee. So that zeroes out all credit card, mortgage and other debt due to illegal banking and government activities, although I have been pointed out that it's not illegal, it's unlawful. There's a subtle distinction between the two, which we need to understand. Basically, when debt is originated, the law is that it should not carry usury or interest. And the fact that a lot of our debt has interest means that it is illegal or unlawful. And this would mean basically the Federal Reserve is over, but the Federal Reserve is actually now being controlled by Donald Trump. He's actually the chairman. And the other factor is that Donald Trump has been around the world, and each country, as he's visited, he's set up the NESARA agreement. And basically everybody's submitted, including United Kingdom, which is where I live. And that's indicated by the fact that Donald Trump walked in front of the Queen. Now, this was all put in the papers that he committed a big faux pas in terms of sort of snobbery, aristocratic rubbish to do with the Queen. But of course, it was actually, those that could see, it was the Queen had submitted to the Donald Trump, or NESARA, and that's important because the Queen is in charge of the karmic arrangements for financial control, because there's 3 control centres on the planet. There's one is in the Vatican, which is a separate state, and that is to do with the religious or sort of spiritual, arguably, I don't know, religious sort of control of the planet. The one in the City of London, which is again a separate state, it has its own rules and its own sort of governmental system, an ancient process that I once looked into, and it's surrounded by the griffins. If everybody into to London, they will see these griffins every so often, and that's the sort of border of the City of London, which controls the financial arrangements for the world, actually. And then, of course, there's the military control that's currently in Washington. Well, so the Queen submitting is fairly important to it's a critical component to the implementation of NESARA, and the one in the States is NESARA, which includes the debt forgiveness. It also includes the abolishment of income tax, the abolishment of the IRS. This is the NESARA in the States. Of course, we would get rid of the Her Majesty's Customs and Excise, whatever they call themselves. We then institute a sort of 14% flat rate, or 20%, I would put 20% there, but whatever, for non-essential items. Constitutional law gets changed, the title of nobility. I've been reading off a list here of all the various 19 points, and the list ends with establishing peace throughout the world, which is fairly major, and maybe actually happening with the arrangements that's going on in the Middle East, particularly between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. And the expectation is the other Arab states will follow suit in recognizing Israel. And when that's resolved, basically we will be ready for peace in the world. And finally, on the NESARA, is the release of enormous amounts of money for humanitarian purposes. So as you can understand, I'm very interested in the reset process. And I'm just in the process of reading a book called COVID-19, The Great Reset by Klaus Schwab and Terry Malaret, they are from the World Economic Forum. And if anybody knows, the World Economic Forum with Bill Gates and the Johns Hopkins University ran what's called Event 201, which was the simulation of a pandemic, which was in October 2019, last year. And within a few months, of course, we had the real thing. So there you go. The World Economic Forum is an unusual body. But so I thought I'd give them a read. And on page 68, it says that once citizens realise that money can be found on a magic money tree, elected politicians will be under fierce and relentless public pressure to create more and more. So basically, they admitted that you can create money. So that's where the money is going to come from for the humanitarian projects and various other things, including the debt forgiveness. In fact, debt forgiveness isn't really money. So it's just you forgive the debt. You don't have to use money at all for that. So I think I'll move on to item 2, which is solar events. And I haven't really got much to say on solar events. So moving on to item 3, which is a suggested spiritual practice. Now for this one, I thought I would mention a tool that I use, an app on an iPhone called Insight Timer, to do my daily practice of meditation in the morning. I do 20 minutes and I use Insight Timer. But Insight Timer is an amazing app. It's used by millions of people across the world. And at any one time, during the day, there might be hundreds of thousands of people recorded. And when you're actually meditating, just this morning I checked, there's 20,000 people at the same time were using the app. Whether they're meditating or not, of course, you don't really know. But I would thoroughly recommend Insight app, and I'll leave a link down below for people who want to check it out. And I also recommend a regular practice of meditation. I know it's difficult to find the time, but one way or another, it's really worth doing, particularly early morning, which is when I do it. I also have a Zen practice, which we call sitting. And that's every Friday evening, and that'll be later on today. So I think thoroughly recommended a meditation practice. So thank you once again for listening, and please subscribe.